Starting a train is easy. Take a locomotive with 2 or 3 white marker lights, or for the longest time at daylight, none at all, and you're done. But how exactly do you finish a train? With historic photographs being hard to find, the end of German trains is a mystery to most. You might think, as the guard's wagon doesn't go at the end, simply put a red lantern on the last wagon and call it a day. But like everything about railways, what historic documents tell us about end of train signals is a bit more complicated. It generally has to be discerned between day and night signals. While at night, or in other circumstances impairing visibility, like bad weather or tunnels, the use of lights was unavoidable for the signals to be seen. At good visibility during the day, lamps were waved to save on oil. As such, the simplest end of train signal is a day signal from 1893, which required no more than a red and white disc to be mounted on the coupling hook or hung from one of the buffers of the final wagon. While at night, this disc was replaced with a red lamp. This on its own was not enough, as in the dark, the guard in their wagon in front of the train would have been unable to tell if the train was complete or if some wagons got loose. Therefore, lamps facing also forwards were needed too. 2 of them were mounted on lamp brackets on the final wagon, which explains the either upwards or outwards band of the brackets you usually find on old wagons. These lanterns gave off a red light towards the back and a green one towards the front. While originally it was not deemed necessary to have an end of train signal visible towards the front during daytime, one was added in 1898. Instead of the 2 lanterns with the night signal, 2 rectangular plates with the red and white triangles painted on both sides were added. Very much like those still in use today, but unlike those used today, they were usually square and not reflective. Because of the added plates for the day signal, the disco lamp at the height of the buffers became redundant and was finally dropped in 1935. At that point, the forward shining color was also changed from green to white. By the way, for convenience, many of the lanterns used were 4-sided, 2 sides with glass paints in the respective colors for use in the dark, and the other 2 sides painted with red and white triangles, acting as stand-ins for the daytime marker plates. As such, in the morning the lanterns were simply unlit and turned by 90 degrees. With the introduction of brake pipes in the mid-1920s, however, the forward's visibility became pretty much obsolete, as the separation of some wagons from the train would cause an instant application of the brakes anyway. As such, a special rule was introduced in 1935, allowing trains up to a length of 200 meters to run with 2 end signals only visible from the back. Nowadays, end signals generally need to be only visible from the back, and even at night, lights are no longer required, but the used plates need to be reflective. As climbing on a wagon to mount the end signals, however, was always prone for accidents. Beginning in the 1950s, many wagons were fitted with lamp pockets at a height reachable from the ground. But even though you now know the signals used for the end of a train, that's not where the story ends, as not every wagon was similarly suitable for the final position in a train. While generally every wagon could take the final position, on many routes inclines required a so-called Schlussbremse, an operated handbrake on the final wagon. As such, usually a wagon with a brakeman's cabin. Prussia ordered even those trains where a Schlussbremse was not mandatory to put a staffed handbrake wagon in the final position, as long as it didn't cause any complications or delays. Outside of Germany and Austria, on the other hand, all trains had to end with a handbrake wagon operated by a brakeman. And this didn't change even with the introduction of brake pipes. The only proper use the tiny brakeman's cabins still had at this point. Only in the 1950s, also this final use will become a part of the past. But some wagons, like the saddle wagons built for use in unit trains, never had brakeman's cabins to begin with. So, what to do then? Despite being fully braked and only used on a few predetermined routes, even block trains still needed both: a brakeman at the rear of the train, as well as a stuffed guard's wagon. But as a guard and packmaster wouldn't have much work to do in regards of observing a train or filling out freight papers. After all, unit trains technically only carry a single load. And to save on personnel, The guard's wagon, which otherwise is always directly behind the locomotive, was taken to the very back of the train, allowing the guard's wagon's crew to also operate the wagon's handbrake, acting as the Schlussbremse. And it is for that very reason that with block trains, the guard's wagon came last, and not, as it is a common misconception, because the guard's wagon wouldn't be able to withstand the heavy weight of the coal or iron ore trains. Railway history is complicated, and everything I explained in this video applies only to regular cases. With train signals in particular, there are countless special cases however. Let me know if you're interested to hear about them in a separate video. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you Dave Heise, Flipschwip, Kay Frankly and Lucas Ilskens for supporting my channel in a direct way. If you want to help me create more content in the future too, check out the links in the description. Take care and see you in the next video here at Steel Bridge Models.